Welcome to an incomplete guide to personal growth. We invite you to take a breath and take a listen to our podcast that explores the wonder, humor, challenges, and sometimes those self-inflicted wounds on a journey of personal growth.
Our weekly podcast conversations include stories, resources, and tools that you can incorporate into your daily life. We're the mother-daughter duo of Sydney
and Kelly.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Sydney.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
You're doing well.
Yeah. Well,
That's
yeah,
good.
it's been a crazy day.
Yeah.
Good day.
Yeah.
Nothing
Good day,
to complain
but
about, but it's
a little
like,
busy.
woo, scattered. Good thing I meditated first. So,
we were, what? Oh, because Charles likes to play grocery
cart
all the time.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know how this came up.
Well, I was talking about my volunteering at the food pantry.
Yes.
And how, as a kid, I used to play sacking groceries. I loved to sack groceries. I thought it would be the dream job of all dream jobs. And
so funny.
So I'd get everything. This is back in the day of paper sacks too. But I would get everything out, various things out of the cabinet, and I'd have all these paper sacks.
Can you say it like closer or something? I don't know.
And I'd have all these paper sacks.
There we go.
And everything. Okay. And so I practice how you'd put them in, the weight and the distribution, all that. And I thought that would be the ideal job. Well, I never did do that. I worked at a deli and I did other stuff.
Yeah.
And so now I'm working at this food pantry where people go and it's really pretty cool. They have the opportunity to shop. They have a produce area. They have freezer area. They have refrigerated areas, canned goods, pasta, you name it. And so they get and it goes by weight, how much they get. Yeah. But then at the end, they come up and they put on the scales, and afterwards we sack the groceries. So I am now doing my dream job.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So fun.
That's so good. And you've liked doing it?
I love it.
That's
well, it's the interaction with the people,
Yeah.
volunteers, and the people, the clients that come in and things. It's really neat.
That's so cool. That's so funny.
And it's a neat food pantry the way
I feel like
they get to choose. It's like they're shopping, and they have grocery carts, and they go do
that
their
is
shopping.
nice. Then they get to choose. Yeah, I'm sure having that instead of just like giving them a bag and then they may
Yes,
not like
this
everything
is what
in
you get.
it.
Yeah. So it's pretty.
That's
it's
good.
pretty neat.
And I feel like everybody bags their groceries differently. Everybody comes up with their own system.
Yeah, I have mine.
I like if I go to the grocery store with other people, I'm like, I'm not touching your stuff. I mean, unless like at HEB, people bag it for you. But like, if it's if I'm bagging it or something, I'm like, if it's your stuff, you do you. I don't want to mess up.
I know
your system.
exactly how I like it, and I put them. Well, even if I'm not getting to sack them, I put them on the conveyor belt just the way I like them.
Yeah.
To be put in the bags, so
like
that
right way. Mm-hmm.
So that they go in order.
So funny. I think everybody does that though.
Yeah,
so
I think so.
We
all
That's
have
hilarious.
our systems.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, indeed.
Love it. Bagging groceries.
Yep.
And now over to
Millennials
and spirituality.
Yes.
Kind of Gen Z. I mean,
Gen Z,
I'm on that, but mostly millennials. Yeah. So, okay, why are you so fascinated?
Well, I'm fascinated because I started reading up on some things, and what I hear is negative things coming out of the church. Mm-hmm. I mean, mostly. Yeah. That generation. But when I read the research, I am really hopeful. It's not about church. It's about spirituality and finding community and finding a place for themselves. And it looks a lot different.
Yeah. Well, because this made you think of it because...
It's more of a personal journey.
Yeah.
I'm
talking about how this topic came to your mind. Why do you care?
Because I live with one.
That's
and
true.
I used to work in a church.
Yeah.
And so spirituality is a passion of mine.
Yeah.
And I don't mean church is a passion of mine, but spirituality, whether it be within the church or outside. Mm-hmm. And so it has always fascinated me. And I've always been, I haven't really worked within the church for many years now, but I'm like, where's that group getting?
Yeah. If they're not there, where are they getting it?
Yeah. And what's the church doing to repel them?
Yeah.
Or not?
Yeah. Yeah.
And some are doing better jobs than others. So that's why I have that passion.
Yeah. So what are
because I care.
Do you have some of your research points?
Well, one of the thing is that millennials, they focus on their personal journey.
Yeah.
Not this communal.
Yeah.
Although community plays a part, but and they're less likely to worry about the dogmas and the belief and the isms.
Yeah.
They flow more, and they look to explore. And this is why I'm one of you. But they explore personal paths that blend Christianity,
with others,
Buddhism, and various indigenous rituals and different things. So they're looking to see where is their
where it speaks to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
And this, it's not all, but it's a lot. And some churches do that better than others, and some millennials do keep with the traditional. There's a lot of spiritual awakening movements now. And what has aided that, I think, is the internet.
Oh yeah,
it's
for sure.
Right there. There's apps
you can get information
that
all the time.
help you, calm, all those different mindfulness platforms, spiritual awakening, self-discovery apps, and retreats and things you can attend sitting in your own home. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's big. And they're also the whole holistic wellness is a part of that spirituality.
It is. And
I think
holistic medicine, holistic like that's a big thing.
Yoga, breathing, energy, healing, mental health, they don't separate those two into those not two, but all those into compartments. Yeah. It's a part of a whole. Yeah. Versus that one's that one's that. Mm-hmm. Spirituality contributes to mental health. Mental health contributes, physical,
to feeling more connected. If it's physical,
So it's real, to me, that's interesting, and social justice plays a part in that.
Mm-hmm.
Is
for
big.
Sure.
Gathering on, like I said, on social media. Yeah. And even the word church, right?
Whew. Yeah, it's loaded.
Yeah, Sunday gatherings. Sunday meeting assemblies, just switching some words around. Yeah. Meaning the same thing, but they do still want community. Yeah. It's not without that. That's I think I'm just really, to me, it's fascinating because they call it different, but we're all, I don't care who you are, you're looking for a spiritual path.
Yeah. So how about we take on some of these points? So I kind of did a little survey of a few of my friends, and I literally this morning, I realized I truly am the only one of my friend group that has a church that I regularly attend. Wow. I am the only one that regularly attends church. Yeah. And one of my might have a church that they say, they have their kid baptized there and they'll go, but they don't regularly do it,
Okay.
And they'll admit to that, so I'm not. But so kind of the biggest things that I saw, because I asked them the question, one thing we were thinking, maybe the church doesn't give them all the answers. Mm-hmm. And they actually, they think they get a lot of answers from church and from small groups and stuff. But they don't necessarily feel like they have to get all their answers from there either. They look other places. So it's so they have questions answered by the church and answered through small groups, but they don't just rely on, it's that's not their only source of information. One of their resources. It's just one of the resources. So they don't really feel like the church is not giving them something, which was interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And then, and they take from all the different philosophies. And then, and along that same line, they seem okay that there's not an answer for everything, and I feel like that's not true for other generations. I think older generations personally, they needed, for some reason, I don't know, they needed an answer or they needed something more definite or something to just be to I guess speak what they believe, right? But all of them are it's okay, things are unknowable, and that's okay.
That's good. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
That is, and as you were talking, I thought, wonder what makes that. Well, what's happening in society? Oof. What was happening back in the earlier generations when the world, it was global, but it wasn't so global. No. It was about wars. Yeah. And right and wrong.
And you didn't know if your neighbor was coming home or not.
Yeah. And what they were going through, and the world, it was the Western.
Right and wrong,
and it was
black and white.
It was very separated. And so maybe that played into it. I don't know.
It could
just
be.
As you were talking, I was thinking
and then it's
that.
our generation has had to live through we don't know what is going on. We don't know what's going to happen next because everything like is going against what the standard used to be, you know? It's like, so our world we've just lived in, well, we don't know.
And is there more diversity in your schooling, in your universities, in your, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Interesting.
A big thing with them, too, hypocrisy is an issue. It's a big issue. I think there's issues with mission trips. There's issues with, you say Jesus loves you, but not these people. That doesn't make sense. Or it's just like the church will say things and then all of a sudden the world will show, well, that's not true. Yeah. Or you'll feel, I don't think that's true. It's like, no, you can't say one thing and then act another.
Yeah. That's like when the United Methodist Church had open hearts, open doors, but they really weren't completely open. It was cracked open.
Yes.
But, and I get that. And I think it's fun. I think a lot of people struggle with the hypocrisy. And I was thinking about this morning. It crossed my mind. And it was the hypocrisy part. Yeah. There is not, and y'all's lack of trust of institution, there is not a thing in this. There's not an institution, there's not a place, there's not a community that's not made up of human beings.
Yes. Yeah.
And human beings are fallible at all levels, as I was, as they recently did and
I almost feel like if the church were more open about that, we are human beings, we're just trying to do
and
God's work as best we can. Oh, yeah.
They take money from the church. They do this, they do that. Not all of them.
Yeah, but
some
enough.
do.
And so many of them, I don't know. It's like they think that they're ordained and then they have all this extra power. And it's like, no. Like, I think if they were just more open and honest about I'm a human being. This, and I've had ministers, and right now I'm in a church where I feel like they're very open about their own struggles. They're very open about their own doubt, their own thing that they've gone through. So for me, like, at least right now, that's not an issue. Right. But I know it, I think more churches than not, that can be an issue.
And I think not just that local church, but the overall church to be open about it and not just move them to a podunk place to hide it, Yeah. And I think that's harmed that, because you can't hide it anymore because of media.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So hypocrisy, I get that.
Yes. Yeah. And a big thing too is they feel like, well, if I can find community and support elsewhere, I don't need to go to church for it.
Yeah.
Which I get. Yeah. And two, it's just this catch-22 because, okay, you have young people trying to go to church, but nobody's there. So then they go and find community elsewhere. Well, now then, if there are any young people there, they see there's this community over there outside the church. Well, they're going to go to that. And so it's like, unless you have a conscious group of people that decide to make their community within the church, and especially my 20s, 30s,
it's hard at that age.
It's not going to happen though. But I don't know. You say that, and I get it. There's a lot going on.
No,
but there were plenty of, at least growing up, it seemed like there were plenty of young adult Bible studies. And you had kids, you had jobs, but you still went and you did it.
Yeah. I'm not making excuses. I'm not making, and this church has struggled with this, is Sunday mornings, people will give an hour. Well, that means church or Sunday school. What are you going to do?
A lot of churches
a lot of places struggle with that. So it's not an excuse. But it is what people are doing. And sometimes that's that age. We talked about last week about how that's that age where people are trying to figure out their faith, so they kind of move away, and then they end up coming back.
That's true.
My oldest brother did that. He moved, and then he's the most involved.
He is super
of our
involved.
family now. It's rather,
he really is.
And so, but it's hard. You have to make that choice. You make that commitment.
Yeah.
And part of it is do you miss it or do you not?
Yeah.
And finding that community. I know that was a very supportive community for our family.
Yeah. It was.
That was ours.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be now. So, there's that issue there. No. I don't know how to solve that one.
And one of the things I read that it was so interesting, in some ways, the millennials remain fairly traditional in their religious beliefs as far as life after death, heaven, miracles, hell, as some of the older people. Yeah, so it doesn't mean they've gone away from all the beliefs, but they're looking elsewhere and they're seeing,
other options. Yeah. And then finally, they, a lot of them are totally fine being around people that think differently than them. And they're totally fine being around people that have different opinions. And they actually want that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To an extent, but they actually want like this, like, what's the point if I'm not, kind of thinking about myself and being challenged a little. And I think that's so against what the media tends to put out there of like how society is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing that crossed my mind is just now, I do think about this ahead of time, but these new ideas pop into my head of in your age group, some have, but many have not necessarily experienced crisis.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times the parents are still around.
Yeah.
Illness hasn't struck as much,
a little buffer there.
And so you haven't had to go, now what? Where's my people? I don't know. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I do know that usually you haven't had, unless you've had a sick child, you've done something else. But as a rule, there's not as many. I can remember just floating through life, going and then all of a sudden it was much later. There's a ba-doom, boom, bam,
and you need people to lean on.
I'm glad and that's when I thought, I'm glad I had my faith because I don't know what I'd have done.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so,
for sure.
That's so that may be one too. They haven't had to.
Almost 30, and truly, when it comes to real crises, I haven't really had any except for in the last 1 to 2 years.
Yeah,
truly.
Yeah, Yeah, and you've relied on your.
I've relied on my faith for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So those are kind of the through lines that I saw.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think and one thing that I thought was interesting. This was Pew Institute does a lot of research.
They do a ton of good research. Yeah,
and interesting. It says those raised in the most religious households often show the steepest declines in institutional involvement. The very intensity of religious upbringing can sometimes plant the seeds for later disaffiliation.
Yep.
And also, so a religious socialization that leaves room for questioning and personal interpretation may foster more lasting connections to faith than the rigid approaches that were unquestionable.
Yeah. And I think that's a big, there are, plenty of your people, your generation. I know people brought up, and it's it's this or that. You wait, it doesn't matter. You wake up and you go to church, and it's this is what you're going to do. And those people don't want to have to do it later because you're forced to do it.
Yeah. Well, that, and if you weren't allowed to question,
then you don't think, then you're on your own. You're like, well, I don't want to go there because I have questions, and that's not a welcoming place.
And what if I don't believe like they do? What if I don't think that anymore? Is there space for that? Is there, room to wander? Is there? So I thought that was interesting. I had never thought of that aspect of it. And the other thing, religion is not necessarily tied to morality like it used to be.
That is so true.
I thought that was something I read that was different. It was because it used to be. If you're looking for I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
Oh no.
This is just my thoughts. When somebody says, because I know my own family and Paul's mom will say, well, they're a Christian. Well, that just that does not.
It used to carry such a
carry
weight.
the weight because of the diversity of Christianity. What does that really mean?
What type of Christianity? I think in my head, okay, but which end of Christianity
sometimes
are we talking about?
Yeah, and sometimes I think it's a marketing ploy when they put that on their stuff. It's because I haven't gotten as much service. That doesn't. I haven't seen any difference in the service of that and somebody else if they really care about their business. So, but anyway, that morality
but it's not tied
kind of
to that
thing
anymore.
Isn't tied to that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. It's not. Yeah, no, I think, I'm more, but some of the extreme views of, I know some people, they hear that you're Christian and they automatically don't like you because they think that you're closed-minded. They think that you don't. Yeah. And so it goes that way too. It's
I know.
Crazy.
I'm always, when people talk about, spirit, I do spiritual group. very broad.
I know you are always caveat it.
Because it is.
And it is.
And
but it's
I can relate with any. It's
but
okay.
you feel like you have to. And so I think, too, that pushes people away from the church because why would you want to be associated? If you don't align with that, why would you want to be associated with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, So but I'm very hopeful for this next generation. I don't have that thought of where are they in church?
The church is going to
die.
If
they're not going to church. My longing is for community.
Yes.
For them to have a community because crises do come. Mm-hmm. And do you have that around you? Mm-hmm. And do you have something within you?
Yeah.
And I think that's just it. When people are looking for their spirituality, for their path, they're looking within.
Yeah.
You know, and it's there. You're looking to know that there's something greater than you. Mm-hmm. On which to cling, to talk, to support.
So I think we're doing that, but it's just in such a non-traditional way now. And I think it's going to stick around. Yeah. So it's just a matter of how does the institution adapt? How, when people hit crises, how does that happen? I mean, older millennials have definitely faced it, but I'm talking like younger.
Yeah, younger. You're right. Yeah. Well, I want a millennial group, so.
You want a millennial group?
I want to do a millennial group for younger.
That'd be cool. You'd be good at it.
You know what I mean.
You'd be good at it.
I'd have fun.
But so those are kind of the thoughts I gathered from my friends. And and I can share in some of that, but it is, I mean, since I have the perspective of I'm in a church that I like right now, and I kind of always have done that either because it's my job. or or because.
But you found community every time.
Every time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I for sure have.
Yeah, so that's great.
Yeah. Well, it was a good discussion.
Yeah.
So I hope people gleaned. I don't know if you found yourself in this discussion or if it helped you understand other people. Either way. Yeah. But hopefully you got a little bit of information.
Don't knock those people.
Yeah. What are we doing next time?
I think we may be looking at our own experiences and what people have helped us along the way, and even where maybe we had rough patches within our church or our experiences that weren't just all positive, maybe, and how we stuck it out.
Okay, I like it.
All right.
That'll be good. Yes, if you have any thoughts too, or have any questions for us, reach out. All the platforms and Incomplete Guide. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Yeah. So we look forward to next week when you take a breath and take a listen.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of An Incomplete Guide to Personal Growth. There are many ways you can stay connected. Follow us on Instagram at An Incomplete Guide Podcast, where you can sign up for our email list and get posts that delve deeper into our weekly topics. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast page wherever you listen to your podcasts. We would really appreciate a rating and sharing us with your family and friends.
We're so glad you chose to spend your time with us and hope there was a thought, a resource, or a laugh that you can take on your journey. We'll be here every Tuesday for you to take a breath and take a listen.